Izard here. I'm going to demo the search APIs for Watson Content Hub, and in particular the ability to search for content by fields or elements on that content. So here I am on the Watson Content Hub samples page, and there's quite a few samples on here. One of them is demos of how to use the search APIs to pull out and query the content that you're looking for to use in your front-end system, typically an Angular or React SPA. So from here I've got a few links. I can preview a example of this working on an existing tenancy within Content Hub. So I can see there I can choose some pre-canned queries, or I can create my own query, and it's returning content from this particular tenancy up here. I can go and look at the source, which is open source and is here on the Content Hub GitHub. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull down this repo onto my local host, onto my local computer, and then I'm going to use that to point it at my own particular tenancy, so I can create some test data, and I can run some queries against that the data in my own particular tenancy. So I've just I've downloaded the code. I put it into my IDE, which I'm going to use WebStorm, and here it is. One particular thing to notice is to mention is that all the search APIs use Solr query syntax. So you find lots of information on the web about how to write these queries. They're a little bit tricky, but super powerful to write. So this is all the information here in the official Solr documentation. There's also tutorials that you can do that may be easier to work your way through. There's one particular here, for example, about how to do date queries, and I'll touch on that as an example. So back in WebStorm, I have gone into, I'm going to write some queries against the delivery search APIs, because I'm writing a delivery app, a website, as opposed to writing against the authoring APIs if I was actually trying to create items in the Content Hub. I have, as documented in that in the instructions on the repo here, if you follow them through, the main thing you have to do is to point it at your tenancy by updating this URL here, and then if you simply hit the file, it's because it's just running from the client and hitting that tenancy directly from the client. Now I can query against my tenancy. So there's lots of pre-canned queries here, but the ones I wanted to particularly show off is this newer feature, which is the ability to search by an element on a particular content type. So examples, two examples I'm going to show, or three examples really, is the ability to search for a product by one of the elements, the product ID, with an exact value, the ability to do a fuzzy search, to search based on an element where it contains that value, and then or a little bit more powerful, a little more complicated, is the ability to search by an element based on that type of element. So examples would be based on show me all events that are between two fixed dates, or show me items with a price between $10 and $20 ordered by price, for example. So here the event example I'm going to do is show me all events that are where the event has a date that is in the future. So before we do the search, let's show how that works in the hub. Here I've got, so here's my tenancy. I have two types that I've set up in particular, and a product here. And the key thing I need to do when I set this product type is when I set up the type, I've got to make this element searchable so that I can search for the content that's created from this type. And I get to choose what the field in search that I can search for it will be called. So I can choose, so I could have like various different elements on the same type are all searchable using different fields in the search index. And here are my various choices. I'll choose string 1, choose the first one available. If I had like another searchable string in here, I don't know, like the color or whatever of the product, then I can make that string 2, for example. So there's my product, and then I go into here and I create a product. And let's see, here's one I created earlier called shoes. It's got a product ID 1234, and then I published it. And now if I find all products where the product ID is 1234 and search, then I get the shoes item coming up. The second one I have here is search for products where it starts with 1, 2 or contains 1, 2. So again, that'll contain those shoes. And just to let's show a live example, right? So let's create a new product. A lot of things in this tenancy. Socks, if I'm buying some shoes, I guess, and that could be product ID. You know, maybe it's a related product, so it still starts with 12, but it's like 45. We publish that one. Choose to publish it immediately just because I'm just demoing this. It's nothing particularly important. Okay, that's published, and then I search again, and now I'm finding shoes and socks because they both start with, they both have 1, 2 in the field that I'm querying for, which is string 1, which matches the string 1 I chose earlier. Similar, let's do a slightly more complicated one now, ordering events by dates. So maybe I'm showing a page where I want to show upcoming events, for example. So I've got an event content type here. One of its elements is an event date, and I've chosen a sortable date here. If you want to be able to sort, you need to choose one of the fields that's named sortable. So sortable date 1 or sortable date 2. And because they're fields that are of type date, I can treat them as dates. So I can do queries for dates between November and December or something along those lines. So I've done that. I've created some content again. I'm just creating random events. Christmas, November the 1st, April the 1st. You know, they're just events that are occurring on that date. And again, I'm running this on my local system here. So query looks like something a little bit like this. Find me content of type event where the field sortable date 1 has value now to star, which means now to the end of time, now into future. Sort by that same field, sortable date 1 ascending. So kick that off, and I get April, November, then Christmas. If I do descending, it'll return the same things in reverse order. Again, let me just quickly create an event to demonstrate. What have I got? So June the 1st, something's happening on June the 1st. Right, June the 1st, publish. publish immediately. Okay, it's published. Let's see how quickly it appears. Straight away, and Christmas, November, June, April. That's ascending. I guess I want to do upcoming events. That's the order I'd expect them to be. So this is the query that you can play around in this example here, and then you can embed this query once you've had a play around with it inside your app. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.